It is a custom in the African tradition to ask elders for permission to speak. Thank you. To our ancestors whose shoulders we stand on, to our elders whose shadows we walk in, I greet you, my dear brothers and sisters and friends, in the language of one of the greatest civilizations on this planet. It gave the world the basic disciplines of knowledge of science, math, architecture, music, writing, law, religion, you name it, we did it. The Greeks called it Egypt, but they called themselves Kemet, and Kemet means land of the blacks. I greet you all in the Kemetic language, the word of peace, Hotep. It is always an honor and a privilege to pour libation because we truly do stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, men and women who have paved the way, who have sacrificed much. We're going to use water because water has no enemies. Water is the great cleanser, the great purifier. Everything on this planet that lives, it needs water. We'll pour water into the earth to invoke the spirits of our ancestors, and we'll say the word Ashe, which simply means so be it. So we pour this libation to God for all that God has done and for all that God will do. We say Ashe. We pour this libation to Mother Africa, birthplace of all humanity, everyone who has lived, everyone who is living, everyone who will live in the future. We have a common ancestral root in Africa. We say Ashe. We pour this libation to the classical civilizations of Africa. I mentioned Kemet because Kemet was the height, the apex, the zenith of African high culture. Many people came from far and wide to sit at the feet of African people to learn those basic disciplines of knowledge. But there were other great civilizations, Timeri, Punt, and Nubia. We say Ashe. We pour this libation to contemporary civilizations of Africa, of Ghana, Mali, Songhai, Benin, Great Zimbabwe. Civilizations that were flourishing even while Europe was going into a dark age in medieval time. So we pour this libation to those contemporary civilizations, the great University of Sankore and Timbuktu. We say Ashe. We pour this libation to the brothers and sisters, our people who suffered what is called the Ma'afa or Infakani or the Holocaust of our enslavement, uprooted out of Africa, laying a carpet along the Atlantic Ocean. And now we're in the Western Hemisphere, North America, Central America, South America, and throughout the diaspora. We pour this libation because even though we do not know their names, but we know of their tremendous sacrifice and their suffering. So we pour this libation to those brothers and sisters who suffered the enslavement of our people. We say Ashe. We pour this libation to those brothers and sisters who fought against enslavement. There's over 400 recorded revolts of our people fighting because we were not slaves. A slave is somebody or something that submits its will to a master. We fought. We fought on the continent, we fought in the Middle Passage, and we fought in this hemisphere. And we continue to fight today. So we pour this libation to Nat Turner and Gabriel Prosser and Denmark Vesey and Singbe Pia. We pour this libation to Harriet Tubman, who 19 times she went from the South to the North, freeing over 300 of our people. She said, I could have freed 300 more if they understood that they were enslaved. Using a gun, not for her protection, but using a gun because she said, I know if you don't run, you're going to tell. A bounty on her head that would be equivalent to $1 million today. So we pour this libation in her honor, and Sojourner Truth, and Mary McLeod Bethune, and all the other ones who fought against the enslavement, mental and physical, of our people. We say Ashe. We pour this libation to those unborn, those young men and women who will once again lead us back on the stage of human history as a free and proud and productive people. We say Ashe. We pour this libation to the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood, made and imbibed in us, not just at this moment or for a season, but forever, as we continue to work together to strengthen our community, to strengthen our families, the relationships that men and women must have to build good communities and good family life. We pour this libation to that spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood. Brothers and sisters, let us all say, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Shimhotep means go in peace. Asante Sana means thank you.
Ashe. And welcome to Universally Speaking with Rahim Islam. I am Keon Jackson Malone, sitting in for our moderator and co-host, Ptosha with a P. Davis. And the expressions of libation that you just heard were that of veteran soldier of the struggle and everybody's brother. Yes, we love Oshiyami Adelabu. And in studio with us, I have Miss Bria Grant.
Hello.
Hello. Mr. Tony Cash. And without any further ado, let's bring him up. My man, the man of many plans, the head of the clan. Here we stand. Let's bring him on to the microphone. My main man, Mr. Rahim Islam. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine, Keon. And how you doing, brother?
Everything's set and copacetic.
Copacetic. I don't hear that word much.
That's a cool brother word.
That was that's a old soul word,
Yeah, that's
brother.
from them hip cats on the dark side. Yeah.
So everything okay?
Everything's cool, man.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Back in
Glad you are here.
the city of Milwaukee and back at WNOV and with the team, with the crew.
That'll make you just feel warm.
Yeah, absolutely. With
Fuzzy on the
with
inside.
with the crew. I'm back with the crew. Tosha's missing today, but we missed Tosha. So
Always miss Tosha.
we had a couple things. I said, "No, Tosha, we can't do it. You're not gonna be here because Tosha always." They had me on the radio show the other day, and I got a call from somebody that says they called me live at 5.
Live at
Live
5.
at
Yeah,
5.
live at 5. So I said, "Well, dad, going." I said, "Well, Bria, you're gonna have to help me keep me in check because
I
you
got
know
you.
they called me live at 5.
Live at
That means
5.
I was all the way live, and I never came back down. So you gotta talk me down.
Well, we gotta make sure you
feel what I'm
don't
saying?
get too elevated.
Yeah,
that,
Tosha could do that. She can kind of, even with all her signs and signals, and I don't even be paying nothing
Yeah.
attention to her. I'll be like, yeah, right. Keep it moving.
Right.
But it's enough of the distraction that slow me down.
slow
At
you
least,
down.
slow me
You
down.
know, that's how it is, though. Sometimes information is just that exciting in with all of the busyness that you're involved in, all of the activity that you're involved in. It's kind of hard to contain it sometimes. And then when you have the opportunity now it's almost kind of therapeutic, right?
Oh yeah.
To get
It
on
is
and be able
therapeutic.
to dialogue with the listening audience, to be able to highlight, the things that you experienced throughout the weekend and over the week with our community. It is kind of like, can't let it all out at one time because we only have an hour show today, Raheem. So.
Well, the thing of it is, you're right. It's still called communication. So at the end of the day, you gotta be able to communicate.
Absolutely.
And so somebody told me the other day, right? They said, if you're using foul language, using foul language, and you're trying to communicate something, and you're kind of upset that they won't really hear you. All they hear is the foul language. So I says, well, dag, my son didn't hear a word I said. I had that joker the other day, and I was bleep, 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 you bleep, 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 and bleep, 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 bleep some more.
You forgot about the bleepity bleep bleep.
The bleep, 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 because I swear to God, this joker is driving me crazy.
How old is he?
16.
Well, that's that
yeah.
age. That's
No,
that's when you're
I'm
supposed
ready
to drive your parents crazy.
No, I'm ready to choke this joker.
Smelling himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready to choke.
My uncle / he's my uncle, but he's my dad. You know how we do in our community. He would always say to me and my auntie, because we're so mellow and every once in a while you got to cuss somebody out. You have to use cuss words, or else the message does not
I
resonate
couldn't
with.
use English,
But-
the vocabulary. I could not only communicate to this joker that he is losing.
Right.
I even sound like Donald Trump, loser. I called him loser. I
But-
said, you are a loser.
Mercy, Lord.
I'm
But-
serious.
But my response to my
Shucks.
uncle is this, right? A kind word turns away wrath and brings understanding. So when we communicate in a way where it's kind of taboo and it kind of catch people off guard, like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect them.
Did he just say that?
Right. Did he say? Okay, now let me pause for a minute and internalize what's going
Yeah, I
on.
gotta get better. I'm
So-
just an angry man.
But in the
That's
heat
the
of
man.
bringing our
Yeah.
children up,
Yeah.
our passion, our desire for them, it kind of is translated in different ways. And so, especially with our kids,
Yeah.
when they are not performing or doing as we would desire or require of them, it does kind of take us to a place, especially when we know they know better.
Well, I tell you, they called me the other day and they said Alive at 5. So I don't want to get that designation because I really do believe there is a message in that I'm trying to communicate, and the worst thing you can do is not get the message across, And so so keep me calm.
I'm with you. I'm with
Bria,
you.
you got to help me. Just don't get too excited. You know what?
Because I'm going to fire him up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna mellow them out. I got this. We got this.
I'm
We
looking
got
for
this
a Black
together.
Panther clip right now.
Especially because this is a very hopefully have a moment to talk about some really, really important things. Tomorrow is our official vote day, election day here in the city of Milwaukee, Milwaukee County, and we want to make sure that our listening audience is aware, that they are engaged, and that
We
they are
the people.
Yes, we the people. Go ahead with that. I like
No,
that.
We the people.
We the people. We need to, as the people, stand collectively, and I really, really hope that this election we shock the world by coming out to vote. It's a spring primary. And so it's not going to be expected. I was speaking with somebody and they were like, oh, ain't nobody coming out to vote. And I'm always very hopeful, Rahim. I always like to think the best. And I like to think that our community has heard your communications and the communications of others here on WNOV and in the community and say to themselves, like, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to do my part this time. I'm going to get out and I'm going to vote. And we're gonna work this plan together.
Well, I think the concept is such a strong concept. I think even in its weaknesses, it's still probably one of the most strongest concepts on the planet. Is the American form of government. We the people is a very, very powerful term, and it is we the people, and we demonstrate the we the people. This season we're involved in right now, and tomorrow we can exercise the we the people of the United States, and how to and another thing is the we the people wasn't always included us. We weren't always the we the people.
No.
And so now that we are we the people, we gotta have much more not only participation but education about our government and how our government functions and how our government operates. Who does what and what are they supposed to do? How do you hold someone accountable? How do you give a report card? What are the issues that are impacting us? And so we're at the here focusing right now at two big events last week. One was I did a speaking engagement at the Molefi and Sante Institute, which is a think tank of African-centered leaders. Really, it was people from all around the country, but clearly they were like Afrocentric, and I dropped one on them because I tried to let them know that their ideology alone is not going to save our community. That ideology, there's no one ideology, and so the message in the for that meeting or that presentation was the state of Black Philadelphia. And what was the state of Black Philadelphia? And I concluded that many of the things that we know, but there's a lot of things we don't know. and while because we're just dealing with the issues on a day-to-day basis, but many times we're dealing with issues. We are the targeted by a multitude of issues. So the same person who is impoverished, the same person who is failing academically, the same person or family who is underemployed or unemployed, the same person who is sometimes in their family who is addicted to alcohol or drugs, or the same individuals involved in violence. It's the same people. It's not like you can take these demographics and just say, okay, you got an academic issue here, you got a drug issue here, you got an incarceration issue. It's the same group of people. And so that was one thing that I think most people are not really fully appreciating, the multitude of issues that impact us as a community. We have so many arrows on our back. And the next one is the fact that we suffer from a massive economic trade deficit, which makes life almost extremely difficult, if not impossible to fix. So we approach it from a social issue, but we have to look at this from an economic perspective. And so we the people, we are our people, the African American people in Milwaukee and in America, we have to understand how this government works. And this government works. We have a pathway, but one of the tools for the pathway is voting.
That's right. That's right.
Is to use our tool, but we got to be informed. We got to know what's going on. And if we don't know what's going on, it's almost like not having a vote at all. So we had really woeful participations these last two 22%, 23%, 12%, 15%. That means nearly 75% of the people are not participating.
That's
We're
right.
talking about eligible voters, right? So we have to be more of we the people, and we have to be more of we the African American people of the United States. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide the common defense, promoting the general welfare, and securing the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our prosperity. Do ordain, establish this Constitution for the United States. So we the people, that is an action. That is not just a noun. That is a verb. That is a term of action. We the people. And so, and voting is just one action that must be done. And I think that's where we are today. And tomorrow we're hoping for a big turnout tomorrow. But if not a big turnout, we're going to be pushing. I know there was an event on Saturday. How did it go? Why don't you tell our our listening audience how to go? And what was the purpose of that event?
It was a beautiful experience, and the purpose of the event was to just have the information for the community, right? Because we become overwhelmed with this process, and I think, Rahim, that's what causes that 70 to 75% of people to stay at home and not participate. Because when you have 25 people running for 5 different offices, it's confusing. Sometimes there are people running for office, people that you don't know that are running for office, and you want to be able to cast the most informed vote. And so on Saturday, we came out, community celebrated, had fun at the Onyx Social Club and Restaurant. And we just simply had the information available. We had the ballots that were the sample ballots so that people can see when you get to the voting block, this is what it's going to look like. This is how it's going to be lined up. This is where you can find the candidates that are going to be running in your district. These are going to be the general candidates on the ballot that cover the entire county. So people were familiar with that process. And then we had another section just was strictly candidate information. So who's running and what, literature, what those candidates have to say. We just made the information available. And I think that's the most important thing, not in a very intrusive way, but in a very relaxed environment where people could come, mingle, have fun, eat a little food, dance a little bit if they wanted to. Andre Lee Ellis, I just want to thank him. He's just a phenomenal host.
Right.
And so he hosted. We had a number of elected officials come out. State Representative David Bowen was out. Senator Lena Lena Taylor was there. Reggie Moore from Be the Change, who's a strong community organizer and advocate. We had Miss Martha Love that was there. So there were Judge Joe Donald. He came out. I was so surprised to see Director Michael Bonds, who came out as well. So it was a really, really nice time, and it was good to be able to see and have the discussion in this type of setting. So often it's a formal setting where it can be intimidating, even for the most astute voter. But for those individuals that are just kind of like, look, I just want to do my part, nothing too much, don't ask too many questions of me, because the reality of the matter is we're not informed. We're working to make sure our community is informed, but we have a long ways to go.
Sure.
And then also making sure that people have the steps to begin to do their own research, because that's another piece. We don't want to just say, hey, vote. We need you to have an informed vote. This is how you begin to identify who is the best person.
Well, I think you said something earlier that I think is really kind of part of the challenge for the African American community. And that is really buried in hopelessness. That we don't really believe. You see these kind of anemic numbers in participation, and you what you really are seeing is the symptom of a much bigger issue. And there's a general belief that people don't believe that the vote matters. Well, we've talked a lot about Black Lives Matter. We have to make Black Lives Matter.
Exactly.
And so if Black Lives matter, we also have to make Black votes matter. We the people, it's we are the people. Now, we are a separate, diverse group of people, but we have to do it for ourselves.
Absolutely.
No one's going to do it for us.
Absolutely.
One of the fundamental things, and I ask you, Keon, I mean, you out here and you see what's going on. You hear a lot going on. I think one of the fundamental issues that I think that we must tackle with is, whose government is this?
Exactly.
Is it our government? And if it's not our government, then it should be our government.
Should be.
And then the question is, how do we take it? It's our government. It's well, put it like this. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, one thing that's awed me in the last few months out here is recognizing the players on the other side hidden. Those who are actually the puppeteers. And I think that's one of the first things we have.
You sound like Kenny Gamble, man.
Really?
The puppeteers and
Yeah,
the puppets and the puppeteers. Go ahead.
You
go
have
ahead.
to realize.
I'm going to have to hold on. Let me hold on.
You have to realize who's puppeteering, who's pulling the strings, who your actual allies are. Because a lot of times you can be fooled. Well, thinking your brother is your ally when actually he's playing chess the whole time.
Right. Well, so who are the puppeteers that you refer to, and why do they come into your conversation? Why did you chose to mention them, and who are they?
Well,
can we identify them?
Oh yeah, we can. I would not right now, but behind closed doors is another conversation. But
give me some characteristics, maybe. Get initials.
They pick our candidates.
Initials.
they pick our candidates. And a lot of times it's a dog.
So they pick our candidates.
Yeah, a lot of times the game is already set, and we have to try to be aware of that so that we can fight against that, or at least put a play in the game.
Well, let me just tell you something. They can only pick our candidates. We're voting at 22%.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? It's easier for them to pick our
right.
candidates.
Yes.
That's right.
So if the puppeteers are saying, they're going to dumb down the election, so that we're going to have, we're participants in that.
Yeah.
All right, and so, there are some who said, I've heard it say many times, growing up, and you are deserving of the leadership that you have, and if you have leadership that is puppeteer, going into a direction and putting you direction, and you have not corrected that, you are deserving of that leadership. So if you got a tyrant as a leader, and you have not taken that tyrant out, then you are deserving
How
of
do you
that.
take the tyrant out?
Well, but as Malcolm said, by any means necessary, we have the tools. We have the tools, but if your argument of allowing special interests
Yes.
to control and dominate an election is because we're not participating.
And we're going to pause right there because we do want our listening audience to participate in our conversation.
Yeah, you have a couple questions for everybody, right?
Well, we have some callers on the line, so let's take those callers first.
Sure.
And then we'll shoot out.
You see how she cooled you down?
Oh
real
yeah,
quick.
definitely. Oh yeah, she shut me up.
Learn well.
Good. That's
So,
cool.
Caller, we
I
have
love
a
it.
caller on the line. How are you? You are on the air with Rahim.
Yes, thank you for taking my call, Keon, Bria. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Brother Rahim. Welcome back to the studios.
Good afternoon.
And Sister Tosha, whatever your endeavors, get well soon there. Get you some vitamin C in you, and join us in the ranks of the studio real soon here. Good afternoon, Milwaukee. Tomorrow's election day, and it's a process of elimination. I just got done talking to 2 bus drivers and then another neighbor of mine on the other side of my block. I said, man, election day is tomorrow. I ain't voting. And I'm in my mid-50s. He's, I guess he's late 30s. I don't think he's quite, 40 yet there, but in that general area. He said, I ain't voting. I said, man, look, like Commander McGee said, that's a damn shame, man. You better go on and vote, because if you don't vote, then, that's, I better not hear you all summer long talking about your dog is loose or, your grill is falling apart a nut, man. So, because I know it's only an hour show, but I wanted to get to a couple different things here real quick. It is a process of elimination. I was talking to my bus driver friend. He said that the fellas are not so much on the Abley bandwagon there, and I'm not. I don't really care for either one of them. Really, I don't too much have a whole lot of wonderful things to say about Mr. Larson either, because I believe he's hiding in the shadow of Congresswoman Gwen Moore. But his leash is short. If Mr. Larson, as a process of elimination, if I don't vote for Chris Abley, it's almost my hands are tied. I have no alternative but to go Larson to, give the bus drivers the option and the out that they're looking for. But then again, I would like Mr. Larson to step up as a man and not, so much ride the coattail of Gwen Moore, and not only on your commercial, but face the community, man. Come out so we can hear you and see you, because you got 4 years, you're gonna have to face us anyway. So if I'm voting for you, I'm gonna catch up with you sooner or later, somewhere down the line here, and you're gonna have to face me. But like I said, Beth Cogs Jones, Lena Taylor, Jason Fields, those are all people that I know and are good friends of mine, and he stepped on them, and he's got to face us behind doing that. Now, leaving that there, I'll say on the Scalia thing, it goes to show you the type of mentality that we're dealing with. Now, Elizabeth Warren, they silenced her mic before she even got a chance to really give us a real good serving of her appetite of where she thought she could take us or lead us to. And now, peace be upon him, Mr. Scalia, he's gone. And now they're talking about, and I think President Obama's doing the right thing. It's his initiative to serve his duty and appointing one, or at least nominating. That's the power of the word nomination. And they're talking about, they haven't even heard what the person's vision is or nothing. They're talking about turning it down already. So, I mean, to me, that's a wishy-washy, shallow, narrow way of thinking, because how are you going to turn something down and you don't even know what the person has to present,
Well, these people are just their playbook is gangster.
And I understand that, brother.
Cold-blooded gangster. But guess what? I always say this when people talk about other people's gang. I say, well, where's our gang at?
Mm-hmm. Right, absolutely.
Shucks, why? Look, they ain't the only gang in town.
Absolutely.
I say, look,
Right, don't get me started now. I'm trying to be civilized.
Well, no, I mean, we got to have our own gang. If they got a gang, we got to bring our own gang to the table. I mean, come on. I mean, shoot. At last time I thought we were in a free society. As long as we're not talking about doing anything illegal, we can do whatever we want to do.
That is so true. And on that point, I'm gonna finish up here, and then I'm gonna take the rest of what you got to say off the air. But yes, and his final leg here. Go ahead, President Obama, make your nomination, and then we'll see how foolish they are, because they're going to They haven't even heard what the person's vision is, and they're denying it already. So, I mean, how stupid is that?
Stupid.
You've got to give a person a chance. Just like I said, Elizabeth Warren, this next 4 years, I want to hear from her again in 2020, along with others. But and saying that, then I'm going to wind up, and then I'm going to get out of here.
Before you hang up,
yes.
I just have a question for you. So you kind of talked about, not really knowing exactly where you're going to stand. But the election is tomorrow, and so if you had to vote right now, who would you vote for county executive?
Well, I mean, like I said, the two bus driver friends that I just talked to this afternoon said that the people that he knows, they're not voting for Chris Larson. So, I respect my bus drivers. I respect my people out here in the public, getting us around when, it's a very tough job. And they're entitled to their bathroom breaks. They're entitled to their lunches, just like any other human being. So, I may vote for Mr. Larson on just, several different things, but mainly behind that there, and then some other things that, because Mr. Abley kind of seems to be like he's more of a Scott Walker crony. But like I said, Mr. Abley, Mr. Larson is going to have to come from behind Gwen Moore on this podium and stand on his two feet and speak for herself.
That's those puppeteers you talked about, Keon.
Yes, absolutely.
No, I meant not Abley, and I'm just talking about the image, the connection to Walker. I've seen so much literature.
My
and
mailbox
propaganda
has been bombarded.
That look, they just constantly done that. And the question you got for an educated political person, you got to be able to look through that and say, well, how much of this is propaganda,
yes,
and how much of this is real.
Yes.
And when they use the example of the school district, kind of
who the takeover of the school?
Well, it wasn't a takeover. It was actually the creation of a new recovery district of some sort that had some parameters. The author of that legislation was not Abley, and
right.
So they kind of put that all together nicely packaged as if Abley had something to do with it. And I don't believe so. But the bottom line is that it's really about the campaign, the marketing campaigns, and I think that is the real. But thanks for your call, brother. Appreciate your call.
Thank you. We'll take this next caller, and then we're gonna come back with a question for the audience. If you want to join the conversation, please do so. Feel free by dialing 444-5250. Caller, you are on the line with Rahim Islam.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Sherman Morton calling.
Hey, good afternoon, Sherman.
Hey, hey, Sherman.
I
How you doing,
just want to
brother?
touch base. I'm doing good. I just want to touch base. I'm in my car going from point to point, and I caught the topic. And as a person who is running for alderman, I would say this in talking about the mindsets of the people. In 2012, for the 2nd District, there were roughly a little less than, say, about 4,000 people who voted. And there are 41,000 households that we deal with in the 2nd Automatic District. So roughly about 90% of the people didn't vote, which is sad.
Wow.
But what I see is this, though, that the game, and I think as a person running and as one who becomes alderman, I think it's incumbent upon you to inspire the people to get involved. Because what happens is, with all these people running, especially in my district, everybody's targeting the same little less than 4,000 people. You see literature after literature after literature going after the same people. Like I go to a doorstep and you see 4 or 5 pieces of information there from other people. But what about the people who didn't vote? There was a
90%.
reason why they didn't vote. 90%. See, there was a reason why they didn't vote. So it's a fine line with me to make sure I target the people, of course, who have voted in previous elections, but to also try to inspire people who didn't vote and find out, why didn't you vote? I mean, what are you looking for in a leader that can make you decide to vote? And I think bottom line is, a lot of us as elected officials and people running, you have to know the people, you have to inform the people how they can empower themselves. I give you an example, and I'm going to hang up. Today I had to go before licensing on behalf of the 2nd District. There was a gentleman trying to change his age restriction on his bar. He wanted to go down in age. He was at 30. He wanted to go down to 25. And he did good over the past year, so on and so forth. It seemingly no police support. But there were about 6 neighbors who live across the street from this bar who showed up. And these 6 neighbors gave testimony of what they heard of gunfire and noise and litter and sex in cars and all kind of stuff. And those 5 people, because they spoke up and came down before the committee, this person didn't get the license they were looking for because the people spoke up. See, that's an example of what we need to let people know, that you're actually in control. But they have to know that. And a lot of times people don't know that. They think, well, I can't fight City Hall. I can't win. Yes, you can. And so it's incumbent upon us as people who are running and people once we get elected to let the people know, hey, this is the process. This is what you can do to better your community. But the onus has to be on you. You know, I don't want people in the community to constantly point fingers at what other people aren't allowing them to do. When a lot of cases, if the community, if we stand up for a cause and for a purpose, we can get a lot of things done. And that's my mission. I want people to know you can get a lot of things done, but you have to stand up. You have to fight for your neighborhood. Nobody can fight for your neighborhood harder than you. And so I'm going to end it with that. But I think that's incumbent upon us to make sure we inform the people properly, let them know this is what you can do to fight.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate your call, and I appreciate your efforts, and good luck to you tomorrow. And I think you're 100% right, 100% correct. We need leadership. We need people to demonstrate and show people what they need to be doing. That's called leadership. Let me just read something before we go to break real quick. It says, and it's just probably the number one reason why we should vote. It said it's our government. And I talked about that earlier, Keon. You got to understand that if you don't think it's your government, then this conversation is not for you. But we have a different issue. If you don't think it's your government, we have another issue that we got to get you to think that this is your government and why. And our politics. And we're responsible. Fed up with insider control. You fed up with anything. You fed up with this. You fed up with that. The lack of competitive races. We just talked about that. The influence of big money and special interests. If you give up your vote, and if you don't vote, you're ceding even more power to those forces. So if you don't like something and you say, the hell with it, you're actually supporting them. That's what you're doing. So this is a perfect example. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Mm-hmm. You cannot have we the people and you're not participating. We the people means all of us who are eligible to vote should be voting, should be casting their vote, should be participating. And if you're not, then somebody else is participating on your behalf.
That is so very, very true. And so we're going to go to a break. Before we go to a break, Rahim, I'm hoping we can get some very, very brave listeners to call in 444-5250 and let us know who you are voting for on Tuesday, February 16th. You are listening to Universally Speaking with Rahim Islam on 860 The Voice.
Welcome back to Universally Speaking with Rahim Islam. I am Keon Jackson Malone, sitting in for Ptosha with the P. Davis, in studio with Ms. Bria Grant and our main man, Mr. Rahim Islam. On the other side of the break, we were talking about our government, and the last caller brought up candidates targeting the people. And something he said struck me about people not being aware of their power and feeling that they can't fight City Hall, which brings me back to what you asked me earlier when I was talking about the puppeteers.
Mm-hmm.
And
they wanted you to think that way.
And that's one of those things where it seems to me, I've noticed by design, that we always showcase the community advocates, but we never seem to showcase the community activists and speak with them and get those closest to the people that fight for the people and get their thought process on the political scene.
Well, that's a mistake.
I got a lot of feedback, Raheem, from the last show we did with, or the show before last, when we had you and Sean Moore. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people said it was a conversation that's been touched on, but it went in depth to another level. And I feel like maybe that's because we had an activist and an angry black man together. But I would like to hear more from the Sean Moores and the Khalil Colemans and the Von Mazes, whatever, how they feel. I mean, they're closer to the people.
Well, I here's my fundamental belief. Number one is that, and I take a quote from when Dr. Martin Luther King said to, in response to H. Rap Brown, his quote when he said, "If the white America doesn't, you know, start treating the black man fairly, we're gonna burn, baby, burn. We're gonna burn these cities down." And Dr. King's response was, "No, we can't burn, baby, burn. We gotta build, baby, build. We got to organize, baby, organize. We got to learn, baby, learn, so we can earn, baby, earn." In my position in 2016, and having the luxury of looking back at both of these great men and the fighters, different approaches, we got to have it all. We got to be able to build, baby, build. But I'm not suggesting that we go out here and burn anything down, but we have to have a significant amount of activism. But the activism has to be aligned to the political agenda and the economic agenda. Because the question I would ask, and I made this in my speech the other day, I'm not a fan of martyrdom. I'm not a fan. I'm not the one going to throw my life away for some idea that ultimately what are you fighting for? So I've always said to the activists, let's organize. Let's organize, because marches for themselves, by themselves, is not going to produce much. Rallies and vigils and acts of activism can only work when there's an organized effort to advance a plan, not just a response to an action. No, and plan of action. And I believe that we work together. We put our scholars with our practitioners and our content specialists and our activists. I think we can make things work.
Absolutely. One of the things I think we might have had a conversation before about this, where it was articulated to me. It made so much sense, right? Sometimes you need somebody to just shake the tree.
Oh, you have
and
to
just shake it.
Oh, have to.
And that's what the marches do, what the demonstrations do. They shake the tree, and then you have the other people that may not go out to shake the tree, but they pick up the fruit. Yeah, they pick up the ones that are willing to listen.
They pick up the apples.
They pick up the apples. And one of the things, let me just thank Khalil and Sean for being present Saturday night as well, because they were there. Good dudes. They always come out and support when it comes to our people. One of the things that I've had conversation with them about is that we have to understand all of the roles and the significance in all of those roles, right? So sometimes the agitators, the ones that's shaking a tree, because they got the equipment on to shake the tree and the clothes prepared to shake the tree, they can't then turn around and then go to the boardroom. Because, you might not have time to go.
Well, not only that, look, like, people scared to death.
Right.
Like, they scared to, like, wait a minute. This is the guy who was just out there would put his life on the line. I can't be involved with that. But I think the thing that what you really are describing, and I call it infrastructure. So if you shake the tree, and it takes effort to do that, and our agitators and those who are, activists are out there doing that, to pick up the apples takes infrastructure. And to take those apples to the market, to take those apples and create apple juice, to create take that apples and create apple sauce, that takes infrastructure. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, we need to take those apples and we need to get them to the people.
Absolutely.
And that requires infrastructure. And that cannot happen just because it's an idea. It has to be a plan.
Absolutely. And I like that analogy. I'm going to take it one step further. We get this call, when we take it to the people, not everybody can chew an apple. Right. Some people need it to be applesauce, and some people need it to be apple juice.
Exactly.
Because of what they can digest.
Exactly.
Mentally, emotionally,
excellent,
physically, what they can digest. And so we have to keep
I'll
those
steal
things.
I'll take that. I'll add that to my repertoire.
Right.
Yeah.
But we have to make sure that we're mindful of that as we work collectively in functional unity, because that's what our article is this week, functional unity to move our community forward. We have a caller on the line. Caller, thank you so much for joining us. You are on with Rahim Islam.
Hey, how you doing?
Great.
Okay. What I'd like to ask is, I'm going to vote tomorrow. I live on 28th and Wright. I think it's in the 15th or 19th. Yeah, the 19th district or more. I think 15th. I'm not sure. But I'm going to vote tomorrow. My question is, when you talk about have your own, I didn't say it like that, but it was like that. What I'm trying to find out is now that the people of the Mideast have taken over most of our businesses, how as a person of visual challenge, how would I find, is there a library or something, a list that I can find of black businesses?
That's one of the things that we're going to be working on as part of our strategy. I'm sure there are two chambers, African American chambers, the African American chamber, and then there's the Wisconsin African American chamber. Both of them are places we're going to start with. One of the things that I think is challenging our community is having a reliable source of information, so that we can all know we can go and get that information. And one of the biggest ones that we want to be able to promote as part of the economic agenda is the identification of black-owned businesses.
Because I find, like, as a brother, I came here in '65, and people know who I am. I played for the churches, I played for clubs and such. As a person with visual challenge, I was just wondering if they may have a list of what's left or anything like that, because like I say, I mostly find Iranians, Indians, and even I drive with cab drivers from Africa, and I just said,
You know, I'm going to ask you hold so we can get your contact information, because we want to be able to appropriately connect you with the resources that you're seeking. So if you could just hold on the line, our engineer is going to take your contact information, and then we're going to pick up the next caller, and then we only did an hour, unfortunately, Rahim. So we're going to have to shut it down a little bit, but we want to take that next caller. Caller, you are on with Rahim Islam.
Hello, baby. How old are you all?
Mama Rose, hey.
This is Mama Rose, yeah.
Great.
I don't want to mess up your show, what you got, but as a lot of people know, I work the election polls, and I'm chief inspector of one of these areas. But I just wanted to remind the people who have not made their minds up and still intend to vote, they can get a free paper to Courier. I know the whole thing is a sample ballot in there, and it tells about the wars, and it tells all of that. So you can go out and get your free paper, and you'll have time to study it over tonight and tomorrow and whatever, and then go make an informed decision on the ballot. And we have new voting machines now. So all you do, you don't draw that line to make the error. All you do is just put your, color in the little round circle. And we do not use pencils anymore. The e-pens are in there. So make sure you just bring your ID. If you've been on paper, if you're off for paper, bring your letter. But we do have a list of everyone that's on paper in our ward. So don't come in there trying to fool or shake or nothing. Just do the right thing, and you will feel so good. We have people that come in and vote, and they get it right. They be so good. We give them a hello, amen, and a whatever and all that in my area. So I just hope you please do that. Don't let us sit up there at the polls all day long and only have 23 votes. So you wasting up the taxpayers' money or the city or whatever when you do that. And more people need to start working the polls. They're begging people to be poll workers. They've been doing that. So, make yourself somebody. I've been working the polls since 1961.
Wow.
And so young people, that they give you a background. Come on out there, And I thank you for letting me put that out there.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Thank you so much, sister.
All right.
We love you.
Yes, and it's so good to have our elders call in and give us that word of encouragement. We want to just take this last couple minutes, Rahim, to put out there. This is typically the time of year where parents, families are looking for a school educational option for their children, and so we want to make sure that we are offering universal schools. Lee campus, Green Bay campus, the Webster campus, if you listen to the show, if you read the articles, one of the things that I articulate to families that are looking for places to send their school is look at the foundation of what is the spirit of what that school is operating through, and base it on that. Because if the foundation and the spirit is right, the academics is going to fall in place, the discipline is going to be what it needs, and your child is going to grow and thrive and develop in the manner that it needs to be. And I truly believe working with Universal companies, the school, and all the other great work that is being done in our community, that Universal Academy is the place that we need to begin to grow the next generation of leaders for our young people, our young families. And it's a wraparound service. Opportunity for parents to get information on what's going on in the community, as well as a great, strong learning environment for our young people. And I know several teachers that work at the Lee campus, at the Webster campus. I know several families who have grown with Universal, and they have nothing but great, wonderful testimonies from, their children coming in with behavior issues to them just being so grateful at the turnaround and the attitude and the mindset of their young people. And I think sometimes we limit our young people and feel like, that they can't handle certain environments. But when you walk into Universal schools, it's not one Universal school I walked into and there was chaos. Oh, no. The kids, they walk through the whole hallways, and it's nice, it's polished. It's not like the Stepford kids, like they robots or anything like that.
Right.
They are
kids.
They are kids that know, I am expected to perform, in a way that is going to please my parents, that's going to please my ancestors, going to please those that paved this way for me. So I encourage the families in our listening audience. And if you are looking for a place for your student, it's one school, 3 campuses, one mission. We have UACB Green Bay campus, UACB Webster campus, UACB Lee campus, and the UACB High School Webster campus.
Yeah, that's a lot. I think we'll talk more on maybe our next show, but clearly this is a very, very important strategy for us. Is not only we're dealing with the issues of today, but we're also dealing with the issues of tomorrow. And we can deal with the issues of tomorrow when we educate our children about the issues of today. And so I just want to thank you, Bria, for your leadership today, and Keon for your stepping in, and as always, and Tony and everybody at WNOV, and most importantly, my main man, he's the one with the plan, Mr. Gerald Jones. For his efforts and all that he does for our community behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Because he, as you know, Bria and I know, we know firsthand, he does a lot. And so to our listening audience, we want to make sure you go out and vote tomorrow. Stop making excuses.
Absolutely.
If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And you're part of the problem, you're not voting. We got to raise the voting participation up. We got to get the voting education up. We got to get the voting registration up. We got to get the voting mobilization out and up. So you got work to do, but we can't have it both ways. We can't be upset about the conditions, but yet we're not prepared to work for them.
That's right. We want to make sure also you need a photo ID to vote. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are listening to Universally Speaking with Rahim Islam on WNOV 860 The Voice.
And in parting, I'd like to say life is for learning. As we learn life, you make it be what you want it to be. Make it do what it's supposed to do. Each one reach one, and when you reach one, teach one. Them the people who are you and I. Together we stand. Divided is not amongst us. Until next time. Peace.